Hello, welcome back. We've got A Course in Miracles here, and yeah, we're going to revisit an idea that we've seen before. Now, today we're talking about lesson 277 in the workbook, which we have not seen before, but by way of explanation of the day's idea, we're going to spend a fair amount of time going back over something that you may have memorized by now. All right. And that was a statement that we saw for 20 consecutive lessons earlier here in the workbook as we've gone through it. And that is, I am not a body. I am free, for I am still as God created me. You'll remember that. If you're just dropping in and this is the first of these videos that you've seen, well, let me tell you, you are not a body. Anybody ever tell you that before? You're not a body. It's not you. Did you think they were nuts? Maybe. Totally okay, right? Most of us are raised to think we're exactly what our biology textbooks say we are. Homo sapiens sapiens, having descended from whatever other species went before us, which went before some other species in a linear time structure that goes back to when? We made it up, maybe, right? Yeah, definitely. You're not a body. You are free. You are exactly as God created you, and you have remained. That's the point of the word still in that sentence. I am still as God created me. So lesson 277 follows up on that. It's a rehash of the same idea in different words, with the thought that today may be the day where this really hits home for you. And may that be the case. Lesson 277 says, "Let me not bind your son with laws I made. Let me not bind your son with laws I made." Well, you could throw up your hands and disclaim responsibility right away and say, well, no, the legislature made the laws. I didn't make them. I'm not a legislator. They did that. What is this? It's projecting blame, right? If you accept that there's no separation of any kind, you made the laws. You made the laws that govern physical bodies. You did. We did. Because there's no singular, isolated you. It's we did this. There is no separation of any kind. Yet here in the world, we impose all kinds of restrictions. Think about these laws. They're restrictions, they're limitations on the Son of God. There's a whole lot of thou shalt not, isn't there? Right? Thou shalt not file your taxes late. Right? Thou shalt not. Lots of rules, and that extends beyond what's codified as law. It governs everything that protects and sanctifies the physical body as your home, as you. From clothing to housing and everything in between. Really, it's pervasive when we stop and allow ourselves to contemplate it. Yeah, it's all pervasive, isn't it? So the answer is to trust a different teacher rather than trust the ego. Trust the Holy Spirit. Trust your guide. Trust your guides. It doesn't have to go by the name of the Holy Spirit or the universe or the voice for God. Trust a different teacher. All of the drama that we've created for ourselves stems from the fact that we've been listening to and placing our trust in the wrong teacher. We've been placing our trust in an illusion, the ego, that doesn't know what it's doing and cannot, in fact. It's utterly clueless. So here's another point that's really important about today's idea, lesson 277, is when we bind our brothers and sisters, other people, with the laws that we've made to care for and comfort the physical body, when we bind someone else, in other words, when we limit them, we're limiting ourselves. This is really, really important, isn't it? And this is something that makes sense on the surface. It makes sense intellectually when we use words and put them together. It's something that people can relate to, but what I want to invite you to do is relate to it on the deepest level possible, the level where it's intended. Right? When you bind someone else, you bind yourself. Why? There's no separation, period, end of discussion. But as we discover in our own life experience, that's not enough for us, is it? We need the discussion. So let's continue the discussion. Why not, right? Who we are is changeless. We're not a body. We're free, for we are still as God created us. We're not changed by the changeable. Who we are is not affected in any way, shape, or form by any laws that a legislative body may or may not make up, because they're making them up, right? We're not changed by any fiction that we've interposed between ourselves and truth. We're not limited by a physical organism that's mostly water anyway, that we're not going to inhabit forever. And we run around thinking that we will, we won't, which is just fine because it's not who we are. Now, while we're here, we owe it to everyone else to treat this communication mechanism. This is what this is. This is a communication mechanism. We owe it to ourselves to keep it healthy so we can reach everyone. So you can use time for its purpose to awaken. You can use it to extend love and forgive. Now we see in the world that the healthier this communication thing is, the more people you'll be able to reach, the more energy you'll have, the more people you'll attract. It's very true, right? It's very true. And I'm not talking about just physical shape and composition and hotness, right? That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about how you show up, because that does matter. It matters quite a lot. So we always have the same choice in the present moment: love, fear. That's it. It's really simple. The question for us is, which are we going to choose right now in the present moment? And we discover along the way that our habitual tendencies are very strong, aren't they? We've identified with the ego so much that we find ourselves being dragged, if you will, or mysteriously present in a state of, dissatisfaction or rage. And it's not really a being present there, right? But we find ourselves carried off. Happens to us several times a day. In fact, it happens to us so much that we don't really even know we're being dragged away. This is why spiritual practice exists. It's why meditation exists. It's why any spiritual modality exists, so we can be aware of when we're carried away and return to love, right? Return to the light. That's the point. That's the point. And spirituality, in whatever form you practice it, could be A Course in Miracles that we're talking about here, or it could be anything else, right? It provides you with a means, with a navigational toolkit, so that you can bring yourself back, so that you remember who you are, and you are not a body. You are free, for you are still as God created you, just as I'm still as God created me. We're unaffected by all of this drama. Who we are is unaffected by this. A Course in Miracles just comes right out and says all of this. Now, it may appear an audacious claim to you. We're limited only by our belief. So if you believe wholeheartedly in your biology textbook that you are a physical body that was ushered in by your parents in the union of a sperm and an egg, okay, great. If that's what you believe you are, so be it. Right? Then you'll live life as though that's what you are. And just know that that is quite a gross limitation. It is. It's a limitation, isn't it? I don't expect you to agree with me, but it is. It's a limitation. We could choose to leave our limitations aside, to drop them, simply let them go. We could choose to believe that, in fact, we are changeless, limitless, still as God created us. So, of those two choices, one's real, one's not. I'll leave it to you to discern that one. I mean, you know where I'm coming from on that. It's not me, Tomas Garza, that's saying this. A Course in Miracles was dictated by Jesus. He's saying that. I'm just his instrument right here in this thing that you're looking at. Really? Really. We're bound only by what we believe. And my message today, the message of lesson 277, and indeed this entire course, is you can choose differently. So we invite you to do just that.